So give us the reasons why the FA Cup matters this year. What's the biggest storyline for you between Chelsea and Manchester United?
I'm not going to roll out all the historical tripe about the greatest cup competition in the world and so on, because normally that's what we used to make fun of the English, and I'm probably the most English person here, except for Paolo down the line. But no, look, I think very simply, this is important because we know who the best team in England is. It's Manchester City this season. But I think United, who, in addition to finishing second, they can make a strong statement by beating a very strong team that fell away at the end, but certainly wouldn't have looked out of place in the top four, and who are the defending champions in Chelsea. I think it would give Mourinho more leverage as well going into the summer vis-a-vis how United are going to strengthen. For Conte, it's a bit different. I don't think this is going to have any bearing whatsoever in terms of whether he returns as Chelsea manager next year. Incidentally, I also don't think that it's 100% given that he'll definitely not be back next year. That's a whole other issue. But if you can leave here with, I won the title one year, I won the FA Cup the next year, and I did it in difficult circumstances, that's pretty good.
Let's go to Paolo here really quick. Paolo, you just heard from Gab. He says it's not a given that Antonio Conte will leave Chelsea. You agree?
Actually, I think he is probably on the way out. I first of all want to just pick up Gab and agree with him about the greatest cup competition in the world. My English side agrees with him, and this year my Italian side does as well. I know there's some other competition going on this summer that some other people seem to be making a big deal about, but that's not important. That's not a big deal. Look, I think that what Gab said was spot on. I think that it isn't a bad run at all to be in England for 2 years and come away with a Premier League title and win the FA Cup. And I do think that we tend to take this attitude nowadays, and it's certainly perpetuated by the media over here in the UK, that the FA Cup is almost an afterthought, that it's sort of something that doesn't matter because in this age of Twitter and everything, we're all so focused on the Premier League, so focused on the Champions League, so focused on the biggest things and only the biggest things. But just sort of speaking as a fan, speaking as someone who has been to these games as a fan, I promise you that the Chelsea fans and Manchester United fans who go to Wembley this weekend are going to be feeling a whole heap better about their season in the next months ahead if they win this tournament. It does matter to them. It does matter to football fans.
Casey, you're the only one on the show that's played in the FA Cup. You agree?
Well, I agree that it's a huge competition, but it's one that's been diluted over the years for a multiple of reasons. I think some foreign managers coming into the UK, the size of the squads, they don't have the same maybe history of what the competition means. They've played B teams in earlier rounds, which they get knocked out, and then they just don't have maybe the same focus that they have with the league. But it is a competition that, when you can get to a final, what it means for your club, what it means to the fans, what it means to go there and win the competition. Yeah, maybe it's been diluted because maybe semifinals are at Wembley. It's not just the final. It's not just, we've got to Wembley, this is the day out, this is what we've all been going for. But don't tell the fans when they get there. Don't tell the players. Don't tell the coaches. Don't tell Mourinho and Antonio Conte, if they win that title, that they're not going to hold their hand up and say, I won the FA Cup this season.
Can I just say that, alluding to what Paulo mentioned there, the idea that in the UK, the media thinks of this, of competition, essentially as a second fiddle, as an afterthought. Well, and that's in the UK. Imagine outside the UK. Imagine somebody who didn't grow up with the magic of the FA Cup. Somebody who didn't grow up with the history and the romance of the FA Cup. How is this significant to me? How is this significant, or more so significant, than a Copa del Rey final? The UK people don't care about the Copa del Rey final. And so now we're supposed to consider the FA Cup as to some sort of end-all, be-all. This only becomes important to these managers if they win it. If they win it, because you can spin this. If you're Mourinho, you spin this. You say, well, look, there's improvement here. We finished second, and here's an FA Cup title. This is us taking a step forward. If you're Antonio Conte, we had a difficult season. Yes, we have all sorts of issues, but here, when he counted, we won a game that matters. And so here's a league title, and here's an FA Cup title. What else do you want from me? You spin it, only if you win it. But and that's when it becomes significant.
I think it can also hurt you in reverse if you're not careful, especially with that gentleman, Antonio Conte, because right now he's still strong in the narrative. When I say he's not, he may not believing it's because obviously of the compensation that needs to be paid to Chelsea. If there's a big club that really wants him and they're happy to go and pay the 8 million or 9 million, whatever it is, to get him out of his Chelsea deal, then that's fine, then he'll go. But he's got this narrative now, and he says, like, look, we won the title. I didn't get the players I wanted. I didn't get all the support I wanted, and whether we believe him or not. But look what happened in big games against Barcelona. We came really, really close. We were unlucky. We had the better than the first time round. We beat Atleti, and against Manchester United in the final, my players pulled together and so on. If it doesn't happen, then you're stuck with a slightly different narrative, which says, wait a minute, you went out round of 16, you finished 5th, you stunk it up at the end of the season because nobody believed in you, and in the final, you lose to Manchester United. So maybe your rep as being sort of the ultimate one-game manager isn't quite so strong.
Well, and what's the worst thing that could happen? Okay, they get blown out and he gets fired. Let me tell you, a month ago, Antonio Conte had a sign up on the sidelines, fire me. Because that's the way his team was playing, and the disconnection between this manager and these players has been very clear over the last couple of months.